What's up, everyone, and welcome on back to the channel. F1 the movie comes out this Friday, and I am so excited for it. It looks absolutely phenomenal. It's gonna be the movie of the summer. Everyone's gonna love it, and as usual, my anxiety-ridden brain thinks about all the ways this movie needs to perform, or else bad things will happen to the movie industry. Apple is at a crossroads right now, partnering with other studios for their theatrical releases. Their past few have not done well. They've signaled they're scaling back on theatrical releases altogether, and F1 may be their last shot at releasing movies in theaters. And then on top of all of this, the budget for F1 is extremely high, and it may seem like that ups the stakes for this movie, but I don't think it's actually that big of a deal. I do still think that it matters, but not in the way that you think it does. Now, with Apple, they've always used other studios to help distribute their films for theaters. With Napoleon, they used Columbia Pictures. With Killers of the Flower Moon, they used Paramount, and F1 will be using Warner Brothers. But it's always Apple's name on these films. That's their brand. They produce them, and it will live forever on the Apple TV Plus platform. These films represent Apple, and so far, they've only been representing a pretty bad box office performance, and F1 could either help with their brand where they only produce quality and hits, or it will join in on the box office bombs. Napoleon and Killers of the Flower Moon did pretty okay in theaters, right? One made $221 million dollars and the other made $158 million. Dollars. Did they profit? That's a different story, but these films weren't necessarily made to profit, right? They were mainly made for the awards season, and they had to release them in theaters just to qualify for those awards. And then everything changed for Apple when they released Fly Me to the Moon. Fly Me to the Moon came out on July 12th, 2024, and absolutely bombed, making $42 million dollars on a budget of 100. This bomb caused Apple to rethink their entire theatrical distribution strategy and pull Wolves from a wide theatrical release to a very limited theatrical release, and reportedly pissed off the director John Watts so much that he decided to cancel the sequel that he was working on. And he actually gave them their money back. Better man than I. I would just take all of that money and turn in a horrendous draft so they cancel the movie themselves. But hey, some people have better morals than I do, and they have not had a single theatrical release since, which makes me believe that F1 will be their last test to see if they will still be doing theatrical releases moving forward. If F1 does well, they will likely continue theatrical releases, right? And if it bombs, then they won't. But I don't think it's because of the finances that Apple cares. I think they care more about their reputation. It's been well documented that Apple has been losing $1 billion dollars a year annually on streaming with Apple TV Plus, and they don't really seem to give a shit. They reportedly had $391 billion dollars in revenue in 2024 alone, so $1 billion dollars to them is just a rounding error. So I don't think that they give a shit about these movies losing money, but I do think they give a shit about how it reflects on their reputation as a company. Apple prides themselves on being the best of the best, very high quality, and they always do extremely well. But with the movie business, it's very difficult, especially when it comes to the box office. I don't think Apple gave a shit about Napoleon or Killers of the Flower Moon not performing at the box office because, like I said, those movies were never going to make money, and it's usual for critical darling movies or Academy Award season movies to not make money. But the ones that were supposed to do well, like Fly Me to the Moon, drastically hurt Apple as a brand. When movies bomb, there is a ton of coverage around them, and there's no escaping it or spinning it into a good story. The trades will report on it. The public will be diving into the financials, seeing just how much money that movie lost. And whenever you see that film on the Apple TV Plus platform, that's all you're going to think about, and that's what Apple doesn't like. So with F1, they are staking their entire brand on this movie. In their last WWDC, they focused heavily on F1, and they even released a really fucking cool haptic trailer where you can feel the vibrations of the car on your phone. If you haven't seen this trailer or felt it, highly fucking recommend. It's the coolest thing that trailers have done ever. Everyone knows this is an Apple movie. They don't know it's a Warner Brothers movie. And if it fails at the box office, everyone will know that Apple released something that failed. If F1 fails, I highly doubt they will ever go theatrical again. This film has everything going for it. It has good reviews, an amazing built-in brand. It has fucking Brad Pitt. It's like this movie was made by the entity from Mission Impossible, and hell, it probably was. This is Apple we're dealing with. This film has everything going for it, but if this film puts Apple in a bad light in terms of performance, I think they will be done having theatrical releases because they don't like having failures associated with their brand. And F1 in particular is going to be very hard to find out if it's profitable, at least in the public eye, because the whole budget issue is very wonky. It was reported in May of 2024 that F1 had a budget of around $300 million. Expensive as shit. But both the producers and directors quickly shot down this report, stating that the budget is off by quite a bit because the tax incentives that they received, the partnership deals that they got, and how much F1 is paying for this movie. And that makes it a little wonky and difficult in the public eye to determine what's a success. And that's what Apple cares about the most, at least in my opinion. Now, about this budget. Do I think $300 million is accurate? Yes, 100%. Do I think that's what came out of the studio's pockets? Not at all. Jerry Bruckheimer went into the tax incentives that they got on this film, which, when done right, it can give you back 25 to 30% back on all local spend. So everything that they spent in the UK, like labor, equipment, shit like that, they actually got money back. For instance, if they had a 25% incentive, for every dollar that they spent in the UK, they got 25 cents back, which drastically helps the budget for net costs. I actually used to give presentations on this a lot when I used to work in production, and who would have thought all those presentations on film finance would eventually help me with a failing YouTube channel? Subscribe, people. It's all I've got left. And then they discussed how brand deals brought the budget down, like Heineken. They have an entire Heineken commercial, and in the trailers, it is very prominent that Heineken beer is used, and I'm sure it will be even more prominent when the movie actually comes out. Which I don't really understand. I've never seen a product in a movie where I'm like, hey, I should try out that product, you know? It's not like I'm really influenced by any of this product placement. That's pretty good. But what I'm most curious about is how much F1 paid for this movie. Let's be honest, this whole movie is a commercial for F1, right? They definitely have some skin in the game. It's like when Arcane was made, it's all just a commercial for League of Legends. It's a great commercial with a lot of heart and amazing animation, but it's a commercial nonetheless. And F1 the movie is a commercial for F1 the sport. And I'm really curious to know just how much F1 dumped into this movie. Nothing about this has been reported as of now, but my guess is they bankrolled the shit out of this movie since it's such a good advertisement for them. Think about it as a commercial, right? $8 million is how much it costs for a 30-second commercial at the Super Bowl, and that doesn't include the actual production budget to make said commercial. And F1 is not getting a 30-second commercial. They are getting a 2-hour commercial starring Brad fucking Pitt. Even if they threw $50 million at this thing, that is still a great deal. So the net budget being $300 million is probably not accurate, right? But that number is getting around to the public, and the general public doesn't overanalyze this type of shit like I do because, let's face it, I do kind of have a problem. And this production budget doesn't even include how much Warner Brothers has probably thrown into this movie either. No report has been released about what the actual split is on this movie. We don't know if Apple gets any cut of the box office gross since Warner acquired the theatrical rights and Apple only gets SVOD. But once again, we shouldn't be too involved in the finances since Apple doesn't really seem to care about how much shit costs and what they actually profit. They only care about it succeeding and not tarnishing their brand. And unfortunately, that means that even if this movie does hit a profit, it may not look that way and it may still tarnish their brand. Apple, Warner Brothers, and F1 were very smart in crafting this movie, and they put in some insane Hollywood accounting to actually make it work and make it so the risk is actually not that high. But if F1 looks like a failure in the public eye, then Apple may not like that and may stop theatrical releases for all their films going forward. And that fucking sucks, right? I personally love theatrical releases and think every movie should be released in a theater, but it's very hard to make it in the film industry. You can have great movies that still fail at the box office. You can craft the absolute perfect film on paper with the best directors, with the best actors, with the best screenwriters, and still come out with a kind of so-so movie, and it still fails at the box office. This isn't like the tech world where you can be objective, and Apple is learning just how hard the subjective world can be and the insane world of film finance. F1 is a triumph, and it should be treated like one. This movie looks like it's going to be the movie of the summer. It's going to be a movie that I think people will say made them want to make movies in like 20 years. This is a miracle of a movie, and no matter how well it does, no matter how bad it does, I think it should always be seen as a success. But Apple may not think so. So I'm urging everyone to please go see F1 this weekend. Support this movie, support original movies, go see it in IMAX. I'm seeing it opening weekend on Saturday. Let me know if you are too, or let me know what you think about this whole thing in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I truly do appreciate it. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help push out the videos, and I also love hearing from all you guys as well. And if you subscribe, I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.